What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of All About the Birds. This is our premiere episode of Soaring into History, Unlocking the Eagles Vault. We are promoted by Athletes Hub and Heat Ratio Sports. I am Chip Keagy, joined by Johnny Ulecka and Jeff Warner. And a huge treat, we are joined by Arkansas Fred himself, Mr. Eagles legend Freddie Barnett.
Hey,
what is going on?
what's up, guys? What's happening? Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming on. I know we're super excited. We got to give a special shout out to our guy Phil, the bearded wonder. Is a big Freddie Barnett fan, and unfortunately, he can't join us right now. He is working at his pizza shop, but I wanted to. So if you could say a special little greeting to Phil, I'm sure he would appreciate it. It'll make his heart flutter.
Is that him? Hi, Phil. Thanks so much for being a fan. I love you. How's that?
That'll work.
That's great.
That'll be his new ringtone.
Love you, Phil.
So for those of you that don't know, Freddie Barnett is a 5-year veteran of the Philadelphia Eagles. He played from 1990 to 1995. He also played for the Miami Dolphins for 3 seasons. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1990 NFL Draft from Arkansas State University, 1992 Pro Bowler, and finished his career with over 5,300 receiving yards, over 30 touchdowns, including a clip we're going to play a little later on, which was a 95-yard touchdown bomb from Randall Cunningham himself against the Bills.
Yeah. Fun times. Seems like 100 years ago, but fun times.
So, I mean, like I said, we are crazily excited to see you, and you see the comments already rolling in. You got Julie waving in, Moyo saying Fred Barnett's the man. So let's just, I kind of want to jump into some questions and learn some things football related.
Sure.
So I want to start with something that's kind of going on in the current Eagles landscape, and tying to something that you had to deal with too. So obviously there's a bit of a quarterback controversy in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah.
Just a little one. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Just a little bit, yeah.
But in 1995, through the grapevine. But in 1995, you had Ray Rhodes come in as the new head coach, changed the system to a West Coast system, and they replace Randall Cunningham with Rodney Peete.
Yeah.
Randall moves on. So my question for you, I guess, is do you see anything similar between the Wentz situation and leaving and the Randall situation where he left and revitalized? So what does this do to a locker room, I guess?
It's interesting because it's kind of hard to be specific on really what's going on. Of course, there's some sort of controversy going on. I can be specific in terms of when I played, because I know that the West Coast offense was suited for a quarterback who could release the ball quicker. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of really quick routes. We had a lot of slants routes from the slot. We had a lot of quick reads. We had a lot of routes where, when there was a blitz, you had to get rid of the ball quick. And Randall, that didn't really suit his style. And it not necessarily was his style, it was the ability just to release the ball quick. It was always just a, 7-step drop, just, drop back and sling it. So, I mean, I think it's very interesting to see what's going on now. And all we can really do is just kind of speculate to a point, because we're not in the locker room. Mm-hmm. We're not watching the film. We don't know exactly who is beating out who. I mean, based on Coach Peterson, number 2 was beating out number 11. So, I mean, he got to start. So, it's good to, of course, come up with some suggestions on what could possibly happen or what's going on. But at the same time, too, that there's something wrong. Right. With the new coach coming in, it could be a situation where the offense suits Wentz, more than Hurts. So it's really about putting the right people in the position, and that's a position that they're the best at the position.
Right. And, just to piggyback on that before we go to the next one, I mean,
Yeah.
when they made that switch in the 1995 locker room, what was there a divide? Like, what does that do to even the receiving core? Like, how does that translate?
Well, you know what? The biggest thing is how the quarterback who's hitting the bench handle it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing.
Right.
And, if he's a team player, he's a guy who's going to say, hey, you know what? If the coach makes this decision,
right.
I'm gonna be about the team, and if I'm not the guy, who should be starting, I'm just not the guy. But we're talking about the pros, so whenever we're benched, it's like, well, if I'm benched, I don't belong here. I should take my talents elsewhere. So from a standpoint, it's sometimes it's really about the relationship that you have with the individual that is benched, which I did, of course, had a better relationship with Randall than I did with like Rodney Peete.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be a little disappointed, as a player who's benched. I mean, when I was in Miami and I was just kind of losing ability here and there, and I was getting called out of the game, and I'm like wondering why I'm getting called out of the game, and I'm you have to a real good player would stand up for himself and want to be in the game.
Right.
But I had a relationship, a deeper relationship with Randall than I did with Rodney. But at the same time too, I had to focus on the game, and Randall being benched, no disrespect, but it really wasn't about me. So I had to still be in the game. So my head had to be about what I needed to do to produce and be successful for myself. And of course I think we were all there for him. And of course, like you said, he went on to other teams, and I mean, he was a field goal from going to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, absolutely.
That he was talented enough. It was more so conducive to, or I guess shall I say, less conducive to his ability to run that type of offense. But back to the Eagles now. We're not sure. We're not sure if it's Hurts being able to run this type of offense better than Wentz, or what is it? We don't know.
Right. I'll say, just to follow up on that question, I would say, since you obviously play the game, you know what it takes to play the quarterback position, being a wide receiver. So looking at the Eagles quarterback situation right now, would you feel you're pro Wentz or pro Hurts if you were a coach right now?
Well, see, it's a great topic for fans, but for the simple fact that I know what really goes on in the meeting, and the fact that I don't know what's happening, and we're not in the meeting, I can't say who's the guy who should be there, because you got your offensive coordinator, you got Doug Peterson that's watching play after play after play from each guy, and they're making a decision based on that. And sometimes we as fans, which I'm a fan now, we tend to want to make a decision based on who we just want in. We feel like, Wentz is a guy who, although he got hurt that Super Bowl year, he took us, 3/4 of the way. So he should be the guy in. And, if the coach says different, the coach is looking at the film every day. The coach is grading, each player on each play every day. So sometimes it can get a little confusing, because we're not sure exactly what's making the coach make that decision, and inevitably the coach is looking at the film and saying, "Hey, Wentz is not the guy." Based on what we're trying to do here, Hurts is the guy, and then Hurts go in, and we're like, "Whoa, what happened here?" So it's hard, being on the outside looking in. But because I've been there, I know that they're analyzing film on a day-to-day basis, on a play-to-play basis, and putting the right guy in the right position to make the team successful.
Well, so then let's go on that for a second, because you just said that you've played the position. So I think Jeff has a question about the wide receiver position. Sure. Let's get some expert advice here.
Yeah, I would say, Freddie, since you played the position at wide receiver, I would say I know Philadelphia fans are a little critical of our wide receiving core right now. We expected a little bit more from Jalen Reagor. We're not too big on Greg Ward and a couple of these other guys, and with Alshon and Deshaun Jackson possibly on the way out. Who in our wide receiving core do you wowed you or feel that stood out last season?
I think Rager's pretty good. I mean, it's sometimes, the wide receiver position is really about, of course, starts with the offensive line, giving the quarterback, the time to get the ball out. And I can tell you, when, no disrespect to our offensive line, but I was open a lot and got rushed a lot. And sometimes when you're open 10, 15 times and you caught two passes, you caught two passes for 50 yards, you say, oh, he just caught two passes for 50 yards. So he's not that good. But, I think Reagor could be, that number one guy. I watched him over the past season. I think, if you got the right guy in that quarterback, you got an offensive line, that could give you 3.5, 4 seconds. He's a guy that can, number one, get down the field and even work some intermediate routes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking now because one thing I love about the way we do this is we have these comments rolling in. Yeah. And one of the questions that came up is actually the next one we were going to ask you. So what was your most memorable moment during a game? What was your favorite memory of being a Philadelphia Eagle?
Oh, it had to have been, I tell this story a lot, but it had to be, it may sound kind of weird, but I played 1 year in high school. Mm-hmm. All right. So I got one scholarship to Arkansas State. So the time that I went from the first day on Arkansas State's campus, I thought about, what do I need to do to become a professional athlete? What do I need to do to become a professional football player? And I was so in the zone. I felt like I was in the zone for like 4 years. And I can remember my first game. And I went to the combine. And let me back up. I went to the combine. I was fortunate to be able to get to the combine from Arkansas State, 1AA wishbone team at that. They didn't throw the ball much. So I was able to get to the combine. I think I was in the top 25. And I think it was more because, being, my size and, had some speed. But after I did the combine agilities, and once again, so focused, after I did the combine agilities, I was in the top 10. And believe it or not, Dallas told me that they were going to draft me, but they didn't. Oof. But going back to your question, being in high school that 1 year, being in that 4 year of college, and then that combine, it was all such a focal point and a time for me to really focus on doing exactly what I needed to do to get in the pros. And even being in training camp after I got drafted, Buddy never made it comfortable for anybody who got drafted. So so in my mind, I'm like, I still need to make this team. I'm a 3rd round draft choice, but I've seen Buddy cut. I saw Buddy cut people on the spot. Sure. And when it was time to cut people were just flying out of the door. So I'm like, I'm scared because my dream's right here in front of me. So once again, that focus level is at the highest. I get in my first game. I think it was against the Colts. Mm-hmm. I get in the first game, and we leave the huddle. Randall, called the play. We leave the huddle, and we line up. And the referee called a television timeout. So when he called the television timeout, I look up in the stands, and I'm just kind of looking around, and I'm like, holy, you know what? I'm here.
You can cuss. You can cuss. Go ahead.
I'm like, holy shit, I'm here. And I'm looking around, and I grab my helmet, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm here. And it just hit me all at once. And I started crying like a little bitch on the field. So I'm serious. I started crying. I'm like, I'm here. And it made me think about how powerful being focused in on something. It just literally wiped away these memories that I had on getting there. And when I was there, it just automatic. It just seemed like it just turned on. So that had to have been my most memorable moment. And the nervousness was there, and I think I ended up catching a touchdown pass that game. And from that point, it just kind of, I got into drive and just just a day-to-day thing for me. It wasn't, the nervousness was gone, and I felt settled in. And Buddy would speak to me, and he'd pat me on the shoulder, and I felt like I would probably be there for a while.
See, that's the kind of stuff, like, as a Eagles fan, that we appreciate, because playing in this city is not the easiest thing. We are aware of that.
Yeah.
So just hearing the passion is just it's so refreshing.
But Chip,
well, that's the thing. I mean, you have to be able to have the thick enough skin to get criticized if you screw up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not perfect. So when I had bad games, I expected the fans to jump my ass about having a bad game. And, I didn't necessarily take it personal because I agreed with them. And,
right.
I love the fans here. And I think there are a lot of other ex-players who would say the same thing. But the players who, don't have thick enough skin to understand and accept, when they screw up, and understanding too that it's about the percentages.
Right.
I didn't grade out 100% every game, but 89, 90, 92%, I'm a Pro Bowl player,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
nothing wrong with being criticized.
No. And the one thing you brought up, Freddie, was you coming out of a small school, Arkansas State, and how you had to be focused. And last year a player came out of Arkansas State, Kurt Merritt, and then this year there's a player in the draft, Jonathan Adams, both out of Arkansas State. And I feel like, yes, it's Arkansas State, but if you're focused, no matter what school you go to, you can make it into the NFL. And what you said is powerful, because as long as you are focused, you could do anything you put your mind to. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at it. What you said is what I'm kind of going on.
Well, what's interesting is that I think a lot of fans don't hear this, and a lot of fans sometimes get confused or surprised when a guy from, say, Michigan get drafted in the second round and then you don't hear from him again.
Mm-hmm.
Or a guy get drafted in a high round and you just don't hear from him again. You really have to make an adjustment.
Sure.
And mentally and physically, you have to make an adjustment going from high school to college. You have to make an adjustment. There's a speed adjustment, and there's damn sure a speed adjustment and a mental adjustment going from college to pros. And there are a lot of guys who were great college players get in the league and they just disappear. And there are a lot of guys that you never heard from. They get in the league and they're able to make that adjustment, and they're able to become, for lack of a better word, they're able to become a man overnight. And I had to toughen up the first day. I mean, I got Andre Waters in my face, and their guys, Andre, would make leave the field, and I'm like, I'm standing there toe to toe, and I'm like, you don't scare me, and that's the type of attitude that you have to play this game. When you get punched in the nose, the worst thing you can do is grab your nose. You have to punch right back right away, and everybody can't do that. There's some guys from a lot of big schools who can't do that. But you get a guy like myself and a lot of guys from smaller schools who took a rough road getting there. They're not going to lose that chance to become successful.
And you bring that up, and it brings a great question. Like, what skills does a wide receiver need to have in today's NFL? Considered, like, what kind of skills do you think that receivers in today's game, not when you played, but in today's game, that you need to be successful?
Well, blocking skills is definitely out of the question. You don't even need blocking skills.
No, you don't.
They don't even want your kids playing with blocks. But speed, of course, is a big thing, and it was a big thing for me. Being able to run routes, precise. Believe it or not, I saw a lot of guys leave the league because they really couldn't understand the offense, couldn't understand the plays. A lot of fans don't even realize that. Even I could have one play leaving the huddle. I have one route leaving the huddle, and based on the coverage that I get, I have to choose between 2 or 3 routes that I need to run, and I have to make that adjustment. And if you can't make that adjustment on the run and see that and learn that and know that, you won't be able to play in this league. One of the biggest things, because it's more of a passing league now, I feel, you see a lot of man-to-man offense because you get a lot of blitz just to get the quarterback to get the ball out of his hand. So you got to be physical. You got to be able to get off the bump. You're going to have a lot of, you got a lot of defensive back trying to disrupt, your routes. But that's, I think the biggest thing is being able to, of course, be precise about routes. Hands is a big thing. Of course, you can't drop the damn ball. But being physical and not not being disrupted, off the line, I think is very big.
So then, hearing your characteristics of a great wide receiver right now, who do you consider as the number one receiver in football with your set of skills?
When I look at my set of skills, I would say Julio Jones.
Okay.
A guy who's big and physical, he's very precise. And I have to say this too. I think it was around my 3rd year when I got very comfortable in what I was doing. I was fortunate to have a lot of athletic ability, and just be able to just run by somebody who's even 10 yards off me. I would be able to run by guys, but learning the game and really understanding the game is very important. I mean, we of course we're all pros and we have the ability to do it, but do you know what you're doing? First of all, do you understand what you know? And being able to execute what you know and understand is very important. And that's having the ability to go out and do exactly what you know. I mean, I think it's easier said than done. And because I mean we've heard it before, LeBron having basketball IQ. That means he understands what he's doing. He just can't. He just doesn't go out and dribble a ball. He's able to shoot. He understands the offense, and he understands what defense he's going against, and he's able to call a play to get somebody open. If I'm in cover 3, that means he's 7-step deep. But if he has an inside shade, I may run my route just a little different to create separation, opposed to if he has a head up shade or an outside shade. So that's really understanding what you're doing. You got a 10-yard route, you got a 10-yard out route, but I may run that route different based on the shade that he's giving me.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say you spent 8 years in the NFL, 6 with the Eagles, 2 with Miami. You had a lot of great quarterbacks throwing you the football. So if you don't want to answer this, okay, but we have to ask you.
I don't care.
I'll say who's your favorite quarterback to play with, and also playing in the NFC East as long as you did have to go up against some good cornerbacks. So who was your toughest cornerback you had to match up with as well?
Well, my favorite quarterback has to be Randall. I mean, he was 6 years. I was 6 years with Randall. I wish I would have played longer with Marino. Here was a guy who was, of course, he's one of the best who ever played a game, and even in practice, I'm like, oh my God! I mean, the ball was just coming out of his hand so quick; it was ridiculous. The one guy, although Darryl Green, I have problems with from time to time, but really not much. And that was the type of situation where I'm like, I'm open, but Randall's getting too much heat to get the ball to me. But there's this one guy that I promise you, if he came into my house right now, I'd run out the back door. You know what? I actually met him for the first time about 3 years ago, and I told him about this story because guys always ask me, like, who's the guy that you have problems with all the time? Rod Woodson from the Steelers.
Oh man.
Oh my God. It got so bad. So when they released the schedule, I go down this and I'm like, oh, Pittsburgh. Damn. Like, I gotta play Rod again.
You knew it was gonna be a tough day at the office that week.
This guy, I mean, first of all, he looks like a superhero. And he's like, he's like 6'2". He's 200 pounds. He has muscles everywhere. I'm on the field, trying to talk about his mom and everything, and he just looks at me like, "What's your problem?" And I'm trying to come off the ball, and he's like choking me, and I catch the ball in front of him, and he hits me, and I'm like, was it a linebacker?" I'm like, "Oh, it was Rod." Goodness. And I just couldn't get past him, and he never said anything to me. He just always like, you know what?
And it's a different time. And it's a different time. Like there was different receiver rules. Receivers now don't get as protected.
True.
True. I'll say the follow up. I'll say you bring up Randall. I would say he was your favorite quarterback. Yeah. I have to ask you about that 1991 season. I would say when Randall went down in week 1. I'd say what was going through the locker room, what was going through the team. Do you feel if Randall played the entire season, you guys would have at least made a deep playoff run or went to the Super Bowl? Because with that defense, number 1 defense in every statistical category. Honestly, I feel that was the best. Time, I'll say. Yeah, I feel that was probably the best Eagles team. Not only not to win a Super Bowl, but definitely not to make the playoffs. So I would say being on that team, what was going through your head or the season or you?
We pulled that check out of the checkbook and we were ready to write it. And when Randall went down, we were like, "Oh gosh, this is it." We knew we were going to the Super Bowl that year. I mean, we would have team meeting after team meeting, and we're like, "This is it." And the defense was like, "Look, the most we're going to probably give up is about 12, 13 points the whole year. So, all we need to do is just go out and score." And of course, when Randall went down, it was, detrimental to us.
Yeah.
And it was hard to deal with because we really thought that was the year.
Yeah, and Randall going down in '93, you had a knee injury, and you made a comeback. In '94, you had an unbelievable season. Should have been a Pro Bowler. You had one of your best statistical seasons with the Eagles and within your NFL career. But my question, how does that injury affect the player, physically and mentally, having to come back from that injury? How is it like?
It's more of a mental thing, And interestingly, I think, of course, you don't want to injure it because you do slow down. But the best thing about the injury is the rehab. And that let me say this: the worst thing about the injury is the rehab. I mean, once I tore my ACL, there was a little pain here and there, but now we go in, we do the operation. Now we got the rehab, and that rehab is the worst. It's the worst because you need to do above and beyond from a physical standpoint. You need to work above and beyond to get back to normal, and a lot of times that doesn't happen, for a lot of guys because it's really about the work that you put in after you get hurt. So so it's a testament to, of course, my trainers, my guys pushing me and understanding what I need to do and when I need to do it. The timing that the timing of, when I needed to walk, the timing of when I needed to jog, of course, the timing when I needed to run. But, I trusted those guys. Otho Davis was there. God bless his soul. And he's a tremendous trainer, and he got me back to where I needed to be. And at the same time too, I had that attitude of saying to myself, I need to get back to 100%, or I need to get back to, of course, having the ability to go out and make plays and continue to play the game that I love.
Yeah. So let's take a break from football for a second, because what has life been like after football? Like, I know you travel a lot.
Yeah.
Where have you gone in your travels? Where do you recommend that people go? What does life after football look like?
My wife. She can tell you that.
I hear Schitt's Creek in the background. I got the ear for that real quick.
Yes. Yes, we just started watching that. Yeah, when I retired, I did a number of things. I had a couple of smoothie stores down in Florida. Came back to Philly and started a clothing line. I've done some stuff with the Eagles from time to time, and done do some consulting for different small businesses in the area. But my wife is like she wears the pants in the house. She's very, very smart lady.
All relationships. Yep.
She has a company in Delaware and a sister company in Bermuda. It's a corporate event planning company, and they've actually been working with Bacardi for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And she's now transitioned into interior design for the corporation. So that has allowed us to live a very, very passionate, successful life with our kids. We have 4 kids. We have 2, actually twin daughters that are at UVA.
Wow.
One is on the lacrosse team, and the other one is on the rowing team.
Okay.
We have 2 boys who are 9 and 5. No, 4. Lexington is 4. And the boys are in school in Bermuda. And gosh, some of the places that we traveled. We were just in South Africa. Before that, Amsterdam, and we're doing a lot of different events for Bacardi. In Amsterdam, they've gone to the Ukraine. We've traveled to Spain. We've been a lot of different places, but nothing beats Bermuda for me. It's close. It's close to home, and I would say probably Africa first, and then Bermuda. No. Let me back up.
Oh,
Florence, Italy.
Okay.
Florence, Italy. Oh, and she just reminded me, Brazil. We have friends in São Paulo, so we've gone there a few times. The Amazon, we've gone to Manaus. That for me, a country boy from Mississippi going all over the world. It's such a, shocking just to even know that I'm able to do this. But we've gone a number of different places. It's been, life has been spectacular for us.
No, that's great. And I'm going to mention a memorable play. We mentioned it earlier. We have a video clip of it.
Should we put him on the spot with it and just show it to him so it stirs the memories?
Oh, is it Buffalo play?
I'm not going to say yes, but I'm also not going to say no. I think I'm just going to push play. So see if this jogs the memory a little bit.
End zone is not outside the rim, a point. Here comes Smith. There's Cunningham. Dodges left and puts it way downfield for Fred Barnett, who has the catch. And the race is on. There are no flags. A 95-yard touchdown.
Oh, you gotta pause it.
All right. Talk to us.
So the 95-yard bomb from which was a hell of a throw, an absolute hell of a throw. And then once you caught it, nobody was catching it.
No.
You could tell that nobody was catching it.
Nah.
Not like that's
Nah.
It's Phil's. That is our co-host Phil's favorite play of his childhood. So we had to put it in there for him.
Yeah, it was spectacular play, and of course it was all random. As a matter of fact, I think I had a post route on that route, and Calvin Williams had a dig route on the other side, and I can remember running back, and I was actually covered. So I run my post and I look back, and I'm covered, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And I just kind of slow down, and I don't hear a whistle, So I'm just kind of jogging, and I see, just blue jerseys everywhere. and Randall all of a sudden comes out to my right because I'm looking back, and he points. I don't know if there's a camera on him. He points, and once he points, I'm like, oh, he's getting ready to throw it, and he throws it, and I think the kid's name was Williams from Mississippi State who misjudged it. And like you said, once I caught it, nobody's catching me. I was out. I was 86.
Wasn't that your rookie year?
Yes.
So yeah, a rookie. I would say in that moment to catch that type of catch, you were probably loving it at that time.
Oh yeah,
But
man.
Jeff,
I mean, you know what? It was a confidence builder too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's when you're coming in as a rookie and you're making play after play after play after play, you're getting comfortable, and you're growing hairs on your chest, and I was as a rookie, Calvin and myself, we really took the bull by the horns, and we had attitudes as veterans. I mean, we felt like we belonged there, and wanted to show the city of Philadelphia and the organization that they didn't make a mistake by bringing us to the organization.
And it's funny that Phil asks that question because, number one, do you have the ball from that play? And the other thing that I want to ask is, so many times when you're hearing the broadcasters after players catch their first touchdown, they go, oh, he's going to keep that one. So where is your first touchdown ball? And where did you do with it?
It's downstairs right now. I got and this is not a testament to my manhood, but I got about 50 balls.
I don't blame you.
Hey. No, that's.
Oh man.
Hey,
I would follow up with the horrible, what's your favorite ball? But I don't know if we want to go there.
Yeah.
No, but the other thing I want to mention to Fred quick is his rookie season. And if you look at other Eagles receivers, his rookie season, you averaged 20 yards per reception. And a lot of people think, Deshaun Jackson is one of the most electric receivers. He didn't average that many his rookie year. So it really shows you, a lot of people look at the stats and everything. That's one thing that really stuck out to me when you really look at the stats was 20 yard per reception. It's crazy. So that's one stat that really came out.
You know what I did? I did a lot of consulting with Eric Allen on how to run deep routes. Of course, I had, lack of a better way of saying, I had speed.
Right.
And one of my favorite routes was just going by a guy. And there are times when I felt like the defensive back knew that I was going deep, but he wasn't quite sure. And I'm gone. It's over. The play is over. 4 seconds, I'm over. And even 10 yards deep, sometimes guys will play off me. Of course, a normal cover three is you're 7 yards deep. But I had a way of just kind of like putting guys to sleep and just getting right on top of them and just kind of give them a move and, taking it to another gear. And by the time I hit the next gear, it's like it's over because the ball's in the air. And I'm going to the ball. But it's that 20 yard, per catch, that's something, I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I love running deep routes. I like going by guys. I mean, I remember even being at Arkansas State, of course I wasn't going against guys who were in the pros, but I would literally tell guys I'm going to run a certain route, and I just run it. It's like, damn it, and I just do it.
Man, that level of confidence is.
That's one characteristic, of course, from an athletic standpoint.
Right.
When you have speed and you have all the other tools, and especially you can catch the ball, you can judge the ball, you can be successful in this league.
Right. So one more final question came up, and it comes from Adam. He's one of our top fans, and I love this question. Who was your favorite team to play against?
The Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. I need to know why.
And you're talking about a guy who's a Hall of Fame corner, Aeneas Williams.
Yes.
I love playing against Aeneas. You know, we develop a relationship, a friendship. I don't want to say relationship.
We know you.
When we were playing, you know, of course we back in the day, they were in our conference.
Yes.
So we would, of course, every time we would play, it's whether it's Arizona or here. And I mean, there's even some highlights on your Instagram of me just going right by him. And after the game, he'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm like, you just can't keep up with me. That's what you're doing wrong. But Arizona Cardinals. I think if I look at my stats per team, I probably have you know, some crazy stats against Arizona.
1994,
Yeah.
November, 11 catches, 173, 2 touchdowns.
Well,
Wow.
there you go.
There's one team. That's just one. That's one game.
One game.
That's one game.
That's just one game.
That's when the offensive line was playing.
It all comes down to the lines, man. That's just that's what it comes down to. I'll tell you what, we want to thank you guys for we want to thank you for coming on. This has been such a cool way to spend the Friday night.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
Oh my God, please, you're, like I said, you are our premier guest on this news segment, this soaring into history, unlocking the Eagles vault. And, I personally am appreciative of how you tied the new into the old. Like that's a fun thing to do.
But Chet,
cool.
Yes.
He did say about the Cardinals. I wanted to bring up his career stats for the Cardinals because
he pulled him up.
818 yards, 8 touchdowns. If you look at all the other teams, the next closest is the Giants at 555 yards. So
well, there we go.
He's telling
and
you
I had no idea about that. I just knew I had no pun intended, bomb games against the Cardinals.
He beat up the Cardinals. We'll just leave it like that. He beat up the Cardinals.
Well, I will tell you, Fred, as the comments have been rolling in, you were a lot of people's favorite player growing up. So again, we want to thank you so much for joining us. You can follow Freddie Barnett on his social media pages. Hit me, I'm open on Instagram, which is just probably the greatest wide receiver handle I've ever heard.
Definitely.
And Bourbon Bruh.
Yeah.
Bourbon_Bruh. Any businesses you want to plug currently that we can get our Freddie Barnett fix with?
Well, I plug my wife business. Of course, we, with the COVID thing happening, it's hard to do events, but I think we're going to get back to doing that, in the next few months, hopefully in the next few months, of course. And I think next year we'll be okay. Planningfactory.com is her company. And you know what, if you do an event, I may be there to manage it. So
there you go.
Sweet.
Okay.
So,
well, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Real quick, everybody, we want to plug our stuff. We are all about the birds. You can find us at AATBirds.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on Sportscaster. We are all over the place. Lots of new merchandise in the shop. And we end, of course, I am Chip Keagy. We got Jeff Warner above me, Johnny Ulecka below me. This has been Soaring into History, Unlocking the Eagles Vault with Freddie Barnett. Freddie, we end every show here on the All About the Birds Network with a very simple Go Birds. Can I hear a Go Birds?
Go Birds.
All right.
Go Birds.
Catch you guys next time.
Birds.